Ever since I've switched to Schaeffer's oil, I've never had a reason to even try anything else. And that's one thing that I'm proud about, is the fact that I can't tell you how good something else is, because I know how good Schaeffer's oil is. My engine builders, Tony and Glenn Clements, have said about the oil we run. They've told us that out of all the motors that they get and rebuild every year, ours looks the best, and a lot of that has to do with the oil that we run. One of the things that I love about Schaeffer's oil is the fact that all of their reps are out in the field and at the racetracks with us, seeing what all the racers need, seeing what ideas we have or anything that we can improve on. And you just can't beat the customer service of having a rep for, you know, one of the main components of our race team, whether it's at our engine oil, transmission fluid, rear end oil. Having somebody there that represents that brand and also gives us some support and also the knowledge that we need to be making the right calls and just helping us out with our entire racing program. It means a lot to our race team to have that. My name's Chris Ferguson, and I drive the number 22 dirt late model. I've been using Schaeffer's oil racing products since 2009. I absolutely have no doubt that we're using the best products that is possible for dirt late model racing.
For generations, fans of IndyCar could only dream of stepping into the cockpit and feeling the rush of going wheel to wheel at over 200 miles per hour. Thanks to the latest in sim racing technology, we can get one step closer. Talented, fearless drivers battle it out in virtual race cars to claim supremacy at some of the world's most demanding tracks. This is the RIL, Schaeffer's IndyCar Series, presented by Raceverse.
Hello and welcome to the Schaeffer's IndyCar Series. This is round number 6 from Dover, Delaware. This is the Dover Heat. And for Raceverse, I'm Matt Houston, joining you guys once again here on the YouTube channel. And we're also joined by Gary Gotso here in the booth. How's it going, Gary?
Wow, are we in for a big night? This is going to be interesting. If it's anything like the real IndyCar races that were here in the late 90s, we're going to see a lot of wrecking. And this is a self-cleaning surface here. So we're going to make a lot of references to Greg Laser Ray Beam and his little incident that he had with Eddie Cheever here. But that was an example of what happens when you get in a big wreck with IndyCars here at Dover. Everything trickles on down. So I'm really excited to see a great race tonight. But I think it's good. We're seeing a lot of action and probably a little less racing and probably a little bit more crashing.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see. So we've had our qualifying here. We've got Caleb Bency on the provisional pole. So tonight's going to be a little bit different. We did this once last season where we're going to run heat races. We're going to have, it looks like we're going to have 2 25-lap heat races. And then there will be a consolation race. I believe that's 30 laps to set the field of 16 for a feature race of 75 laps with 16 cars, I believe it'll be. But yeah, some heat racing here from.
And we got a field of 20, so only 4 people are going home.
That's right. So we got 10 cars on the first grid here.
So if for the heat races, we're not going to have to worry about pit stops. But when we do get into the feature, and if we do have a long green run, this pit road here has an extremely slow pit road speed limit. And that's I think you're an example of what not to do is kind of something that in the IndyCar, the Raceverse IndyCar Challenge is, you actually hit the cones there, you're speeding, so then you have to go all the way down pit road, and then you have to wait 40 seconds for your penalty. So that's what you don't want to do, but the pit road is so slow that people are going to try to hit those cones as fast as they can because that's about the only place they can make up time.
Yeah, me and Alex Van Zandt
Yep.
both had speeding penalties in that race because it is a 35-mile-an-hour pit lane. Most of the IndyCar pit lanes are usually 50 or 60. Or I'm not. What's Indianapolis? Is it 80? Not 100% sure. Okay, well, it's certainly a lot faster than 35 miles an hour. Basically, the way iRacing has this set up, it's a NASCAR track, of course, and they use the NASCAR speed limits for the pits.
Yeah, it's a NASCAR world, and we're living in it, so unfortunately.
That's right. Well, with that said, we do have, this is a NASCAR throwback race, so we'll talk about that. One driver there, I can see on the camera right now, is Dakota DeMade in the Sterling Marlin / David Stremme livery here. Coors Light.
Yeah, I guess a number of drivers have. Jamie McMurray, I believe, also drove that livery as well. So I think he was in that livery for his first win, as a matter of fact. But here we're coming up to green, and we'll talk about these liveries as the night go on. But Caleb's going to bring them down. He had a qualifying lap of 194 miles per hour. And they're already collecting stuff at the back. Looks like we had, let's look, net code or something going on back there.
Yeah, looks like we're good.
Yeah, Vincey had a 194 mile per hour lap, and that is about 4 miles per hour faster than the actual track record set by Tony Stewart in 1998.
Caleb will lead this first lap. This is a track that is going to follow that white line, very reminiscent of a lot of the mid-2000s IRL races, although they didn't run here at that time, but a lot of the 1.5 miler tracks follow that white line.
On the bottom.
Yep.
On the bottom, and that no one's going to pass you.
Until the tires wear out. You can try risking something on that outside line. Probably won't work. So I was wondering, how did we split this field? Where did Dakota qualify, for instance? He started second. Was he third, and we're doing even-odd split here?
I think he got bumped to third maybe at the last minute.
Yeah, so then we're doing even odd on these grids. Oh, my God. We are lap 4 of 25. I had the timer on that session there.
Yeah, we've had a car up high for pretty much the entire race, and he's just got freight trained all the way to the back.
Whoa, we've got, I'm looking back, Holler had a moment. Lusher gets by him. Lusher was the car on that high side. So Lusher is running a NASCAR throwback livery, a Tiny Lund. It's a 1963 Daytona 500 winner car, in fact, driving for English Motors.
Yep, and he's English himself, and that's why he said he picked it.
Yeah, he's living in New York currently, so I asked him that last season. I said, hey, what's the time? What time is it for you? And he said, well, I live in New York, so it's not too bad. Some of our drivers from, overseas, across the pond are coming in, late at night, but Neil's not one.
Wrecking in the back.
Oh, it looks like Lucas Santos, Donchak, and looks like Holler is going to get
Holler,
by.
yeah, Holler, yeah. Everybody from Santos, but actually from P5, P6 on back.
We do not have a caution here, though.
Oh, that's right, because heat races here do not have caution. So right. From P6 on back, looks like got taken out.
That's right. So they will get an opportunity in the consolation race.
If we had a chance to actually show that wreck, it was just another classic Dover wreck.
Ping pong is what I said to Dakota. I said, or I might have said that to you too. When you crash here, it's a bit like the Texas kart race. They never actually ran it, of course, but the crashes you see from that, you'll crash in turn 2, and you slide down that back straightaway, and you end up in turn 3.
Yeah, I actually don't stop till almost turn 4. Yeah.
Particularly since they did the new tire model and everything like that here in iRacing. The brakes do not work when there are no tires on the car. So with 12 laps halfway through this race, Caleb Bensi in the lead. Dakota DeMade there in second. Stephen Ritter is P3, James Watson P4. We've got, I believe that's Michael Holler in sixth place, just surviving out here. I can see he has some side pod damage on that car. And what I should do is go on board with somebody up here. This is crazy. Go on board with Watson.
He's got Cosgrove on his outside there. He's poked up to the top side. I guess he just wants to see what's going on. He was trying to make a move on Watson. Watson kind of threw a little bit of a block on him. Really wasn't necessary. I think if you just stay low, he wasn't going to pass.
Catching up to Lusher on the high side. Going to go back to Cosgrove on board with him. This is one of the few, what would you call it, asphalt tracks. The other one newly released on iRacing is that Nashville Super Speedway.
Yeah, it's actually the same company that owns Dover, owns, or at least in the past, owned Nashville Super Speedway as well. So that's why they also decided to use concrete. But it's not a great surface for IndyCar racing, and that's one of the reasons why IndyCar hasn't returned to Dover. Well, it's one of many reasons why IndyCar didn't return to Dover, and probably the key reason why it didn't return to Nashville.
Yeah, they were in Nashville a number of years, but I believe 2008 or 2009 was the last race, and as I see some smoke up ahead, that looks like it was Holler, and that might put Lusher into that sixth spot. Still think that will mean those guys will be in that consolation race. Well,
last chance.
Yeah, last chance. And we have not seen any positional changes for that lead.
No, I think everyone's just kind of happy to stay put.
So about, I would say 2012 or 2013, IndyCar, it had to have been 2012, when Randy Bernard was the CEO. They actually did do some heat racing at Iowa. And, they were going to race later that night, so nobody wanted to risk their car or anything like that. So it was pretty processional, that race, and the actual race, the feature race that night was a lot better than the heat races.
And my understanding that the setup basically does not suffer very much, if at all, anything on the aero push.
Yeah, I think this thing is loaded up on the downforce, and with this banking, what is this banking here, like 24 degrees?
24 degrees, yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of banking for an Indy car. It is only a mile track here, hence the monster mile.
Cosgrove's trying to get that run on the outside. He was stayed in the draft to the last second and then popped out. But he's still not able to pull it off. That high line is kind of futile. And I don't know if it's going to come in at all today or not. I don't think it will. Whoa, he's up high. He's got the position. I spoke too soon. He got the position on Watson, and now he's on the outside of Cosgrove.
And he needs to force his way down in front of Watson, though, to maintain that. Maybe we're just under 2 laps to go here. This is happening quick here. Maybe the tires are finally going off here. Final lap, white flag is out. Caleb Bensi's going to be looking to win this first heat race.
Here goes Dakota on the outside.
And we're going to be side by side across the line. And Watson,
Cosgrove didn't. Yeah, Cosgrove didn't get it. Yeah.
And actually, Watson ended up going as this checks really quickly transfer when we do these heat races, resets for the next race. I was about to say Watson used that high side, make that work right at the end. So this race will be Kresge, Morrissey, Sanders, Odell, Simkowski, Isidro, Libertor, Woodall, Albee, and Jasper. I think qualifying here was really important. You saw at that front of that field, there was not very much movement from that.
Yeah, passing is going to be at a premium. It's going to be passing. If you can pull off a pass on the track, then you're doing a damn good job. But it's going to be, mainly passing people because of attrition, or if we do ever get into possibly green flag pit stops, we'll be passing people through the pit cycle. But on-track passes are going to be few and far between and extremely hard to pull off.
Kresge, our pole sitter for this heat race number 2, I should make mention about his car. So his car is being run by, he's a Pennsylvania native, as we can see on the screen, Club Pennsylvania, by a driver named Ty Scott, who ran for Russ Toggs Inc. and ran in the Daytona 500 in the late 70s, early 80s. And Kresge's running that car here tonight as a throwback to Ty Scott.
And we got the Channel Lock car next. I believe that's Phil Parsons drove that livery for a while. Right behind him is Jasper Engines from Jasper, Indiana. And right above Sanders there is Days of Thunder throwback, which is, I think, a more appropriate one than most everyone has on right now.
Well, it's both a Kyle Petty throwback and a Cole Trickle Days of Thunder livery, as we have our green flag.
Yeah.
Looks like a little bit cleaner start this one.
Yeah, they actually came down and were waiting to go on green. No one kind of got a jump.
I'm going to go on board. This looks pretty cool. Get that late on the last one. Oh, boy.
We're going to go 3 wide here, maybe. Oh. Oh, wow. Sanders up to P2.
On board with a Sidrow here in 5th place.
And these guys, I mean, some of these liveries are good, but some could have got a lot more creative, especially with the number of ties IndyCar has back to NASCAR. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the reasons why I like Days of Thunder is basically Days of Thunder is a story about Tim Richmond, and basically Tim Richmond got to start in IndyCar. So that would have been cool to see. And then basically in the off time during the
I believe it is our mellow yellow car.
Oh.
Tough break for Jacob. I know he worked really hard on this livery. No caution flag or anything like that, so...
Ooh, Kresge almost left the bottom open for Sanders to take over. But back in the 50s, 60s, and even in the early 70s, IndyCar drivers, they were the drivers of the racing world outside of Formula One. And what they would do is they would, during their off time, they would then take in a NASCAR race here and there. So there are some pretty famous IndyCar drivers. AJ Foyt's one of them. Mario Andretti is another. Dan Girding's another that have wins at the NASCAR level. And there's also Johnny Rutherford's driven NASCAR before. Of course, we all know about Tony Stewart. But for every good story there's a bad one like Dario Franchitti.
Yeah. You mentioned Mario, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was just making sure.
But Mario won the 67 Daytona 500.
Yeah.
And I was getting in a debate with Lewis Woodall, and he's like, well, he would have been famous about that. And I'm like, no, really. It's the 69 win in the Indianapolis 500 is the one that really put him on the map.
Of course, yeah. There's that whole thing about Indianapolis makes drivers don't make Indianapolis.
There's an AJ Foyt line, and yes.
Oh, we've got a car on the apron. Oh, he is around. That was,
and that's going to take out.
And that was not where you wanted to be, but running that apron. A little bit of a banking difference between about 24 degrees down to, 4 degrees.
The front stretch is actually banked pretty steeply. I can get that information up.
But it's certainly an abrupt change, though.
9 degrees. So 9 degrees is effectively the banking in Indianapolis.
That's right. So, but still. But if you were going to save that anywhere with this high downforce setup, that was probably the best place to do it. Yeah, these drivers are really, really testing that apron. I see Lewis Woodall, Jasper behind him. But yeah, you were mentioning earlier with Kresge, he's got to, pay attention, make sure he doesn't, lose any concentration, lose any focus, and, just kind of drift up the track, and, suddenly Sanders in P2 is stuck
stick his nose in there, yeah, and he was looking right there as well. Give everyone a kind of an idea how they're doing. Kresge, his best lap in this heat race is a 19.0 flat, and the track record is held by Tony Stewart with a 19.4. So they are traveling a half second faster, roughly, than they did in real life. And they purposely slowed down those cars when the Indy Racing League visited here.
What kind of horsepower were they running back then in the IRL? Is what that would have been, like, 98, 99? Yeah,
that would have been with the Aurora, Oldsmobile Aurora engine. I don't think Infinity was a player at that point, but they still were a supplier. Mm-hmm. I have to go look at the horsepower, but I have to look that up. That's going to be tough to find because some of that really
they never like to post horsepower numbers for IRL.
Well, and the reason why is because the teams own the engines, and the teams can tune their own engines. So, and then teams would actually go to NASCAR teams like Roush and Richard Childress. They would outsource their services to build and rebuild those IndyCar engines or those IRL engines back in the day. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the IRL was formed, was because of the engine leases that the teams could not own their own engines. Mm-hmm. And every time they went to the track, there was always a guy from Cosworth there, two guys from Cosworth that were guarding like a silver box, and then you put the engine in, and they would watch it, and then when the engine's done, they would take it back. And so you're spending a ton of money to effectively lease an engine, and you're getting nothing out of it. And we have another wreck.
Well, we did, but I swear Lewis Woodall drove right through it. It was the Tide car was in front of him. Tide throwback there. But yeah, he just drove right through him. So
Tide throwback, Ricky Rudd and Darrell Waltrip, and who else drove that? Ricky Craven?
Yeah,
I think
Ricky Craven drove it.
Yeah. I think he was driving that when he had that really. I think he was driving that when he had that banging win with, Kurt Busch at Dover for like his first win. That was a pretty exciting race to watch. I'll give NASCAR credit on that one. So it looks like, speaking of NASCAR, it looks like Isidro.
Yes, I just had him on screen.
Yeah, it looks like Isidro got caught high, and Lewis just ducked right on in and went right on around him.
Lewis coming off a pretty good running there at the Indianapolis 300 race a week ago.
P2.
Isidro running the obvious Jimmy Johnson throwback livery there. Although other drivers have driven lows over the years, I think, too.
Mainly, it's known for
Jimmy. Yeah, I would have to say.
I mean, it's like when you see DuPont, it's you're not thinking of whoever replaced Jeff Gordon. It's Gordon.
Yeah, I'm blanking on that one right now.
Well, was it Bowman or one of those guys?
Yeah, William something. Yeah, I have to ask Dakota on that one.
Now, the NASCAR guys really loved it when the IndyCar guys came here because one of the ways that Dover courted the Indy Racing League is they actually grinded down the track to make it smoother, even though it was still incredibly bumpy for the Indy cars. And the NASCAR guys loved it. In fact, when they came back, they set a new NASCAR track record there that was on the books seemingly for 20, 30 years. And they were able to break it because of them grinding down the surface. But it was still incredibly bumpy. Bumpy so much, and we're coming to the last lap, that Tony Stewart's dashboard fell off into his lap while he was in the middle of the race.
Yeah, it's the first thing. So these drivers dealing with that bumpiness, that's the first thing you notice in your force feedback on your steering wheel out here. As we're going to have Kresge is going to come through, winning heat race number 2 here from Dover. Gavin Sanders P2, Caleb Morrissey P3. Isidro is going to make that work on the outside, I think. P4 as everything resets. We go on to the consolation race. Not sure the order. Well, I think it is. I think it would be, based on the ordering of that field. I would have made it, though. I would have ordered it. We have a viewer telling us something we really should have known, Gary. Chase Elliott replaced Gordon.
See, we're IndyCar guys, right?
Totally IndyCar.
Yeah.
So it's like, I do make a point to know other motorsports, and that's Formula 1, Formula 2, a little bit of DTM, things like that. But NASCAR is just I don't do that at all. I apologize. It's only the most popular racing in the United States. But yeah, I was talking to somebody else recently just about iRacing and how it, as soon as you join the service, you really, it's very factionalized. You got your NASCAR group and you go over there. You don't touch anything else. You got our IndyCar guys. It's a real tight-knit community. And you've got your pool of drivers and everybody almost knows each other in the end. Talking to you about that, I think, Gary, but I was also talking to somebody else about that too.
But sometimes you'll have the IndyCar guys sometimes want to go play NASCAR, and the NASCAR guys want to go play IndyCar, and that's kind of like chocolate and peanut butter. Although it's a good combination in a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, it's really not a good combination on the track. I often see a number of these DW12 leagues pop up because I think that's a free car you get now.
Yeah.
And the league is primarily made up of NASCAR drivers in the NASCAR league, and they're still running with green, white checkers and double file restarts and all that stuff.
I remember a particular league like that. So
green flag.
Cosgrove, yeah, we're
right in the record. There it is.
Kowski. But no caution, but Odell.
We got Odell, and exactly, it's self-cleaning. That's what happened.
Yep. It's like an oven out here. Self-cleaning oven. That's the Dover heat here. So 30 laps in this consolation race.
I think we're going to see more of the same.
Yeah, it looks like a really good opportunity for Cosgrove, Woodall, Lusher to move up here, and Jasper. There's also a petition in chat to replace Donald Davidson, who I believe is retired now, with you, Gary.
I know a fraction of what that man knows.
Yeah, but it was his full-time job, so he got to read about IndyCar stats all day. So that was his job.
Yeah, that man could tell you who finished 23rd and the 1914 Indy 500. He'll be able to just know that off the top of his head.
Let's see, who else out here that we want to talk about their liveries, because we won't have much longer to talk about it. Lucas Santos there is running I thought we talked about this, or maybe we talked about it off air. It's the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup car.
Yep.
You mentioned it earlier. That is a Kevin Harvick livery.
Yep.
It is a good one, I have to say. I don't know if he made that himself or
we got Jasper. Jasper's running one too. I think he's got the GM Goodwrench.
Oh yeah, that's the big time Intimidator livery. But it's a really good livery there, Gary? And P6, Chris Albee.
That is thumbing his nose to the authority in this league. He says, "Damn it, I'm going to run IndyCar whether you like it or not."
That's right.
Attaboy. The thing is, they don't think of the broadcast when they vote for that stuff. They go, "Oh, that's cool," and then we got to sit here like, "Who is that? I don't know. Let's go look it up." And we don't sound nearly as knowledgeable. If you made it IndyCar, I mean, geez, or if you just made it like IndyCar, which ties into NASCAR somehow, like Tony Stewart, or when AJ Foyt went over there or drove. We could easily come up with anecdotes and stories about that, but I can't tell you much about what Ricky Craven did, other than maybe kill himself in a wreck at Talladega one time. And some of these other drivers at David Stremme. I mean, Jesus. Actually, I think I can't even tell you the last time I've heard David Stremme.
Sterling Marlin.
Sterling
Marlin was like one of him and Michael Waltrip were like the experts at Daytona, in that period of years in the early 2000s.
Sterling won back-to-back there.
Yeah, and Michael won one, and that team, I think that was DEI back then. Maybe I'm wrong, but...
Well, Sterling Marlin drove for Sabatis, that eventually became Chip Ganassi.
That's right.
There's your IndyCar tie-in.
There we go. Okay. So I guess we should mention that Lewis Woodall does get his NASCAR livery back this week.
Yeah, we're benevolent. So we got a Citgo in the back there, I think on Espo. He's got a. Is that what that is? Yeah, a Citgo. So I believe that was. Speaking of Michael Waltrip, I think he drove the Citgo car for a while.
Espo's got a skull car, from me anyway.
Yeah, you got asked. Let's see. Oh wait a minute. Who is behind?
The skull car. I don't know if he said
actually. No, it's Donchek. It's Donchek because he's right behind Albie.
Well,
right behind Albie.
The skull car would have been like Harry Gant or whoever else would have run a skull car.
Well, and Skoll actually had a big presence in IndyCar racing. Teo Fabi put a Skoll car on the pole for the 83 500. Tom Sneva drove Skoll for the longest time after his stint with doing the Texaco Star. So Skoll was a big sponsor in IndyCar racing for a very long time.
When I see Citgo, though, I think Milcaduno. I'm sorry, Pete. I'll say that Pete's running a whole lot better than Milcaduno ever ran. So
yeah, he's running about.
He's using the outside, and he's in P6, so halfway up.
Yeah, he's 4 positions higher where she normally would run if she was in this race.
That's right.
Poor Milka.
I think she might have got a pole in ARCA. When they're in the Daytona in ARCA.
Interesting.
But yeah, did we talk about Lusher's car as well?
Yeah, the English.
Right, we did, yeah. Cosgrove maintaining that lead. He's actually got a little bit of a gap. He's breaking away. Let's head up to the blimp and see what this looks like from the blimp.
And interesting enough, the guy that runs a NASCAR livery all the time for this series, Drew White, didn't show up.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I don't know, but this track isn't as common as some of the other ones out there.
Cosgrove's kind of pulling away.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. He's actually built a gap.
Yeah.
I think something with these tires, and this could be interesting in the feature race, that around 20 to 25, these tires get interesting. As we saw, single file, and then suddenly it started breaking 3 wide, or not 3 wide, but 2 wide, about right at the end. Woodall has caught up to him, but it got 2 wide right at the end of those heat races.
Aft is your friend.
Still 9 cars running in this one.
And we're going to get to some desperate moments here for the guys that want to get to that transfer position. They're going to think now or never. You only got 8 miles to go, and It's 19 seconds a lap, so you got to hustle.
I'm going to go on board with Albie back here.
Cosgrove's pulled away again. He's up 2/10 now on Woodall, which it's not a lot, but on the racetrack it is.
I'm surprised Julian didn't show up for this race. He has got some good memories from here. He has a memory of a victory so close, but so far. He got driven through as well.
Yeah. Oh, Spinella.
That was one of your, so this is our second, probably, IndyCar race here on the channel. That was one of your first broadcasts, Gary, and I know you had a heck of a time with that one, even though we only had, 10 cars, maybe?
Oh, for the Race vs. IndyCar challenge? Yeah. That was, only 10 cars, but there was about 4 of them all side by side crossing the start-finish line at the same time, so it actually came out to be a pretty exciting finish.
You had that car bottoming out the whole way around the track. I'm not quite hearing these cars bottom out like that setup was.
Now, probably in real life, if they were there, they would be bottoming out a lot. So the IRL cars did bottom out there. You could hear it in the revs of the engine when they went onto the on-car or in-car cameras. You could hear it in the engine.
Well, over in Formula One, they want the cars to bottom out because they built the bottom of the car. I can't remember what material it's made of, but it throws up those awesome looking sparks. So it just looks exciting. All right, that'll be our white flag. One lap to go. These drivers in the heat races are going to be watching this one and seeing that Cosgrove as the leader, he can break out a little bit here. And although Woodall...
he turns them! Oh, no!
And in fact,
it's Lusher.
That might have just knocked Woodall and Cosgrove out of there.
It did. I think Lusher won. I think Lusher won the heat race, and he won.
Well...
I told you that we were going to get some desperate moments there, and he was going to try to...
I'm not sure where the desperation came from, though.
That's true. He would have advanced, but I think, I don't know why. Anyways.
Well, anyways, yep. So I'm not sure. Are we in a warm-up or something? Or I think we're in a warm-up. This would be a good time to run a commercial.
Commercial, yeah.
Ever since I've switched to Schaeffer's oil, I've never had a reason to even try anything else. And that's one thing that I'm proud about, is the fact that I can't tell you how good something else is because I know how good Schaeffer's oil is. My engine builders, Tony and Glenn Clements, have said about the oil we run. They've told us that out of all the motors that they get and rebuild every year, ours looks the best, and a lot of that has to do with the oil that we run. One of the things that I love about Schaeffer's oil is the fact that all of their reps are out in the field and at the racetracks with us, seeing what all the racers need, seeing what ideas we have or anything that we can improve on. And you just can't beat the customer service of having a rep for, one of the main components of our race team, whether it's at our engine oil, transmission fluid, rear end oil, having somebody there that represents that brand and also gives us support and also the knowledge that we need to be making the right calls and just helping us out with our entire racing program. It means a lot to our race team to have that. My name's Chris Ferguson, and I drive the number 22 dirt late model. I've been using Schaeffer's oil racing products since 2009. I absolutely have no doubt that we're using the best products that is possible for dirt late model racing.
All right, we are back. Let's see. I think I can run through the grid. We'll see if it's accurate or not. So on the pole is Caleb Bensi in P1. Christopher Kresge is going to start second because he won that second feature race, or second heat race. Dakota DeMade in P3. Caleb Morrissey P4. Stephen Ritter's P5. Gavin Sanders P6. Neil Lusher P7 because he won that consolation race. Great run there for Lusher at the end there. Odell's going to get through here. I wasn't expecting him to get through here. James Watson, Alex Simkowski, Lucas Santos, Isidro. Let's round this off. Michael Holler P13, Lieber Tor, Cosgrove P15, Lewis Woodall P16. So Woodall makes it through with Cosgrove, Angelo Expo, and Albee. I think we've only lost 2 drivers here through these heat races and consolation. Who do we lose? Oh, wait. This is actually incorrect. We're only starting 16 cars, so we're not getting Espo or Albee. So that's that.
Coming to green.
Yep, there were 3 wide back there.
And I think someone's wanting to get a start, realizing that passing is a premium here.
That's right. Well, let's keep it clean. We will have cautions in this one. We should, anyway. Green flag.
Brought him down real slow.
Kind of like how it was in that heat race 2, was it? And brought him down real clean. This is a good
it's the race to get to the bottom. That's where everyone is right there. Now it looks like for the most part back to 8th place, 9th place there on the bottom. You still got a couple guys still stuck up top there, so they're looking to try to get to the bottom here, and then settle in and then start your attacking. We got 75 laps, so there's still plenty of time. I mentioned about the Dover track record. I was mistaken. The IndyCars, when they visited in 1969, set the track record, and it wasn't broken until the mid-'80s with Rusty Wallace. It was a 155, and Rusty Wallace finally bested that record sometime. So it stood for a very, very long time. But now, currently, the current track record is still held by an IndyCar there, and that's Tony Stewart.
That's right. Yep, you're right. Yeah, that would have been, imagine in the 1960s how bumpy this would have been.
and it was asphalt too.
Yeah.
The concrete, it wasn't an addition until the early 90s. And then it became the Lady in White or the Monster, the Monster Mile. They gave it so many other nicknames, but it used to be asphalt.
We were talking about it earlier today with the admin here, Chris Rokeski, that it used to be, they called it Dover Downs for a while, but I think it was 2002 they dropped that off. And there is still a casino outside the track. You can probably see it on the straightaways. That is still called Dover Downs.
Yeah, there actually used to be a horse racing track in the middle. That's what they did horse racing there of another type, horsepower.
They could put that in iRacing and then have it as a dirt track.
I won't race it. But
You mean you weren't on that PM18 dirt race at Bristol last night, Gary? By the way, Gavin Sanders, I'm not sure what happened, but he is out. So he's in 16th. Not sure if there was a checkup. Yeah. Made it 1 lap, apparently, so. Might have got dizzy and had to pull off. I don't know.
Interesting enough, back on that 1969 visit here by the USAC Champ Car Series, Art Pollard won that race, and that was the only win for the Plymouth stock block engine on an IndyCar in the history of the entire series.
Plymouth, huh?
Plymouth, yeah.
Wow.
Finishing second was Gordon Johncock. Third was Roger Mosley. Fourth was a very young Mike Mosley, and also fifth was a very young Gary Bettenhausen. So there's kind of a virtual who's who of the IndyCar racers through the 70s and 80s right there. With the exception of Art Pollard. I think Art died in a wreck some years after. I believe the pole, though, was won by Bobby Unser. I think Bobby Unser won the pole, but he was also first out.
That happens from time to time. Hey, so random other thought I was thinking of was, so who owns the track? You were mentioning that earlier. So it's really easy to know who owns the track. It's like called Dover Motorsports. And it's not financial advice, but they actually have stock on the stock market. So I don't know if it's New York Stock Exchange or what, but or Dow Jones or whatever it might be, but
imagine their stock went up because they own Nashville, right? So getting that NASCAR date there in Nashville was a big deal.
Yeah, they own a couple other tracks, I thought, but I'm not sure what they are. Who owns Pocono?
The Mattioli family still, don't they?
Do they? I don't know. That's a good question, though.
So Dover Motorsports still owns Nashville. So they got Dover and Nashville. They used to own Gateway and Memphis Motorsport Park.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, I knew they owned something, but I guess it's good to get their hands off of Gateway because that's become one of the best IndyCar ovals.
Yeah, that's probably the most anticipated oval race on the IndyCar calendar outside of the 500 in Texas.
Yep. Yeah, well, let's hope, there's been some articles recently quoting Roger Penske that they want to get to some ovals. I think Iowa, of course, is rumored. I've even seen Chicagoland, but I think Kentucky. I don't know if they can get back to Pocono at all now because of that PJ1 sprayed all over the track. So, might make any.
I'd like to see. I definitely like to see a little bit more on the short ovals. I like to see him go back to Phoenix. I definitely want to see him go back to Iowa. I like to see him continue to go to Richmond because I think these cars race pretty well on 3/4 mile. The track's shorter than 3/4 mile. Obviously, these guys won't do any good on because it's too slow. But 3/4 mile and that 7/8 of a mile Iowa track, these cars run very well at it. They put on a good show there. So I think they should go back to. I don't know if we want to go back to a place like New Hampshire, but I think historically you probably want to put Milwaukee back on the schedule.
Yeah, Milwaukee.
Give them a couple more. You don't need. I think everyone's still afraid of the super speedway in IndyCar racing, and I think you got to kind of wean them back in. I'm still surprised we're still racing at Texas for that matter, but I guess that the Texas is never really going to become the pack race that it used to be because of the aero package and all that nasty ass stuff they put on turn 1 and 2 that help the stock cars but don't help the Indy cars. That almost helps police the race a little bit more.
A single groove track, basically.
Single file, yeah. So it helps police a little bit more. So I'd like, but
I don't think we're going to get a chance to that. Hey, other track I think was rumored, which I think you'd like, Gary, is Homestead.
Yeah, Homestead. These should run pretty well at Homestead.
Yeah.
I don't think I have to go back and look. Did they race on the bank track? I know they raced on the flat one.
Oh yeah,
they raced on the
IRL, or about 2009, 2010 was even the finale race.
Yeah,
it was actually pretty good even for that was back with those IRO 5 cars. That was actually a pretty good race for those cars.
It wasn't Briscoe in a bad wreck there, or Alacio, or Alexo. Well, I'm thinking of one of our fellow drivers, but it was the Russian guy that they had.
You're thinking of that was actually Fontana, I believe.
Yeah, I think he had a bad wreck there, but
I believe that you might be right about Briscoe, but I think that was Chicagoland. It was about 2005 or 2006, and he was just like a sub at Ganassi, and he was in a pretty bad looking wreck. Briscoe was, but yeah, Briscoe was actually in the race I was thinking of. Briscoe, it was Dario Franchitti for Chip Ganassi and Briscoe for Penske. It was kind of a battle for that championship. This is about 2009 or 2010. Franchitti ended up winning the championship, but it went down to that final race at Homestead, and it was a good track for that final.
I think a lot of people don't know that Homestead, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Homestead's been through at least 3 iterations. Originally, it was a 1.5 mile mini Indy, which would have the 4 distinct rectangle, 4 distinct corners, and only CART went there. The IndyCar never specifically went there. When IndyCar visited there for the first time, it was the flat paperclip version of the track. And then they rebuilt it again to add that progressive banking, and I think IndyCars ran. You're right, IndyCars ran on that one. But yeah, there's been three versions of that track, and I'd love to see iRacing give us those other 2 versions. I think those would be fun to actually try.
They've opened up the can of worms nowadays.
They have. They certainly have.
We've got that Chicago street track that doesn't even exist. We've got North
Racing Super Speedway.
iRacing Super Speedway. We've got North Wilkesboro. And at least they scanned something there, but I don't know. But yeah, they opened up that can of worms. They can do anything now. I welcome it. So going back to Homestead, the reason the early IRL didn't go there though, and the CART did, is because the IRL was going to another Florida track in the Walt Disney World Speedway.
Yep. Yeah, that's why they didn't have to go to that one.
The Mickey Yard.
Yeah, that was a dangerous track. That actually was the track that paralyzed Sam Schmidt, and then actually didn't put him on the road to. Imagine how different history would be IndyCar-wise if Sam Schmidt did not get paralyzed at that incident. Would we see a Schmidt McLaren Motorsports car in the lineup today?
Yeah, you might not. Although
No.
Sam was a pretty good businessman even back then, so.
He was, but he was on his way up in the sport. I think the season before he just won a race.
Yep.
Went racing for Treadway. He was on the up. His star was on the up there, and unfortunately that wreck. Davy Jones got into a bad wreck there, that's what opened the door for the motorcycle guy.
Greg Ray?
not Greg Ray. But we got to show that image. We got to show that image.
We had it one time earlier. Yeah, Julian was in the chat mentioning about that particular race. Let me bring up the Greg Ray there, so you can talk about that, Gary.
Well, this is the very first race. So the race before, Billy Boat was racing for Foyt, and he got injured in the race before at New Hampshire. So Greg Ray was kind of like the hot driver at the time. What he would manage to take underfunded rides and somehow bring him to the front. So Foyt decided that he would bring him in. Foyt would not tell him anything about the car. He would give us input and then they would fix it, but he didn't know, he couldn't see the settings or nothing. They kept that secret from him. So he's in the race, and he was in a tight battle with Eddie Cheever, who just is coming off his Indy 500 win. And they get into a wreck right there in turns 3 and 4, and they collect a whole bunch of cars. And as they're cleaning up the wreck there, they get Greg Ray on camera, and he is staring an absolute hole through Eddie Cheever. And that's where the picture that you're seeing right there, where if looks could kill, that would be murder.
Yes, and so with the great special effects of Dakota Domain, we're able to add the special effects of the laser beams out of Greg Ray's eyes. So that's our fun for tonight here. So as we are about lap 37 here, you can kind of see, I think we're starting to get the cars moving around a little bit out of these corners. Just slightly.
Jeff Ward, by the way.
Okay, yep. I swear Greg Ray was also a motorcycle guy, though, too. But yeah, Jeff Ward was big.
Yeah, the wreck actually with Davy Jones opened up the door for Kenny Breck and Jeff Ward to make the get into the league. And of course, Jeff Ward later went on to win one of the races in Texas. Actually, kind of stole one of Alonso Jr.'s last ever career wins right there. And of course, Kenny Breck won the 99 500 and then went on to win, I believe he won the 98 title.
You were saying Kenny Breck?
Kenny Breck,
yes.
Yeah,
I believe he did win that 98 title. Lap 40 of 75 here. It's kind of a short one here tonight. We are expecting one pit stop, though, and it's going to come about lap 60. And as we mentioned kind of early on, this is going to be really tricky pit lane. 35 miles an hour. They're running 180, 190 miles an hour right now. They're going to have to get on those binders and pray. And
make sure that you got your brake bias set. And also pit in is they're going to be using the backstretch and using the apron off of 3 and going around that way. So if you hit that too hot, you can scoot right back up on the racing surface and cause a wreck. So you got to watch that as well.
I could see this being bad for the front runners. Because these guys in the back are saving fuel. They can probably go to lap 65 or something like that. If somebody early pits and they bring out a caution, those guys are going to be hosed. So, like anybody early that takes that caution. So we'll see what happens here, though. This isn't Indianapolis where leaders can pit and come back out and stay on the lead lap. This is short track racing.
I believe a minimum of 3 laps down because of the speed limit on there and how fast they are.
Yeah, with a 35, you might be right. It might be 3 laps. We do have one lucky dog here, so that could be something. And as we saw at the end of that last consolation race, things can get pretty spicy at the start-finish line. Yeah, we're side by side, kind of deeper into this pack here. with Santos and Lusher. I think Woodall's in there as well on the high side.
Whoa, saw a little bit of a puff of smoke there. Something happened.
Oh, yeah, there is a car. Who is that? It's Dakota, our championship leader.
Wow.
He has an engine might have blown.
Oh, are they not getting enough air? Oh, that could be a thing.
Championship implications here.
How often do you see a blown engine in IndyCar and iRacing? And I'm hearing on the radio. I'm hearing on the radio right now. Someone said that's the first time I've seen that in a race.
Well, I would say, what kind of air ducts or radiator inlet are they running?
Now look at them. They're all staggering themselves.
Yeah.
It's like,
Caleb is completely fine, though.
Oh yeah, Caleb's engine is probably running the most efficient of everyone else. And the hot engines are going to actually burn just as much fuel as well because they're not running efficiently. So they might not be getting as good mileage as we thought in the back.
That's right. This is an interesting storyline here.
So that's unfortunate for Dakota. Will they get a reset, right? One fast repair?
They don't get a fast repair on the ovals unless that's a special rule for tonight.
So he's done, but luckily he has a huge lead in the championship. But this is going to tighten it up a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. One of the things is, who else was Watson is in P6. That's the closest. He's in P2. But Sanders being out, I believe he was P3 in the championship. So that will be fine for Dakota anyway.
So Watson, yeah, he's in a position to gain some ground here. I would be driving very smart at this point, knowing that the two guys ahead of me in the standings are no longer in this race.
That's right. With that said, we've got cars kind of doing 2 and 3 wide back here, so... And Watson is in the middle of that.
Remember, discretion's the better part of valor, and sometimes people aren't always thinking ahead on that,
no.
that stuff, especially in the heat of the moment. But, man, we're quickly coming up to this pit stop that's going to happen.
I think we've got Albie has pit. He's coming.
Who would have thought that this would have gone caution-free this far? And there's your jinx.
Yep. I will say that Dakota had the idea that it wouldn't have that much caution. He did kind of say that. I said, we're going to have, not many cars are going to finish this one. Although we might be jinxing it with 20 laps to go. Anything can happen, but we'll see here.
Okay, we're hearing
coming up on lap 6.
Cars are calling a pit in. Holler's coming in this time by. You see him making the dive down into the apron.
One thing I have to say about if your engine is overheating, the pit lane is the last place you want to be, actually. Your engine will even overheat even more there. Since I've done a little bit, as we have Caleb... Leader in,
yeah.
In the pit lane.
Hit the, watch those cones, get down. I mean, it looks like he's coming to a stop.
Yeah. One thing I was about to say is I've done a little bit more open setup stuff, and with the open setup, you can choose your radiator inlet. There's an option of 54%, 70%, 77% radiator inlet. Basically, you run 77% in qualifying. Sometimes in a race, you'll run 70%, but depending on the heat, the ambient temperature, you might drop it down to 54%. I was running a Mid-Ohio race, and I had to ease off even though I was in the lead, and I had plenty enough lead to win the race, but I did just kind of have to short shift and make sure that the engine wasn't overheating because I had run a 70% radiator inlet. So it's something you got to deal with as Benson, early leader. Kresge,
yeah, Caleb in 38.8 on pit road, 6.4 in the box, so he's back and going, and he's by himself.
Yep.
Okay, more calls for pitting. Donchek, I believe, is making a call to pit now. So we'll keep an eye there on all the leaders that are still on the track.
Oh, we've got, who was that? Isidro nearly losing it at pit entry. He was fishtailing into the pit entry.
That would have been costly for Caleb.
Yes, that's what I was saying. He'll be anybody pitting now. They do not want a caution.
Kresge almost goes back up on the banking when he took the pit. He came in super hot. Get down, get down, get down. Okay, he's definitely slow enough by hitting the cones there. But yeah, Caleb is praying for not a caution at this point in time, because if it does, he is going to be multiple laps down and basically effectively out of the running of this race.
Watson in the pits, Jasper in the pits as well. I'm not sure if there's an unsafe entry on this track either. We'll have to watch if there are any penalties come out of all of this. Neil Lesher leads at the moment. He'll be coming into the pit lane momentarily. He stays out right now, though.
So Alby's already pitted. He pitted at 52, and I'm not sure if he pit if he had an issue or something. But he's good to go.
Yeah, he's good to go. Yeah.
He's going to make he's going to benefit from this. I think.
I think he might. Yeah, he could be doing the as Lusher stays out. He must have saved a ton of fuel back there. Stephen Ritters appears to have dropped out as well.
All right, Lusher coming in.
Lusher's in.
Oh, he's spinning it. He's spinning it. Here's your yellow. Here's your yellow.
Boy.
Here's your yellow. Oh, is he going to get it? No, he's off the racing surface.
Yeah.
No yellow.
This will be a yellow in real life. He's trying to find his gear.
And he resets
it. Okay. Wow.
So that gives the lead to Holler with 10 to go.
Let's see, you're right. Yeah, I was going to say, I thought Holler hadn't pit, but he had. Big gap up to the lead.
The Holler pitted on 57. Vinci pitted on 58.
So there was a 2-second. Holler and Isidro might have taken less fuel than Bensi. Bensi's 6.5 seconds in the box, and Holler and Isidro are only 4.5 seconds in the box. But it's really difficult. Holler's got a huge lead. 2.5 seconds.
2.5 seconds by comparison. Yeah. And 2.5 seconds is basically the entire straightaway.
Yeah.
All he needs to do right now is he needs to just hit his marks and bring it home. He should be good on fuel, and I don't see those guys running him down behind him. But Caleb is desperately trying to find a way around Isidro.
With Albee in 4th place right behind him. Let's go on board with Albee and watch this.
What a call by Holler.
Yeah.
No one saw that one coming. Oh, and there's your caution. There's your caution.
Oh, we do
and
that might be the race.
That you're right. That might be the race.
We might be a real green-white checker.
that was Morrissey there, but that might be your late. So he's taking it right now, and he's going to be 5 to go, and he's picking up the pace car. So we don't do green-white checker in this league, even though we give lucky dogs. So this might be the race. This might be the race right here.
Well, I'm getting a replay of Morrissey here. He has Santos on the bottom. No, wait, that wasn't Santos. That was... Oh, there was some major net code between... double checking who this is. Who was the Reese's car again?
In our notes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have that up.
Reese's car is Santos.
Okay, it was Santos. That's what I had said, but I wasn't confident in my answer.
I don't think we're going to go green again. If we do, it might be, like you said,
it'll be a
natural green-white checker. Or
it might even be white checker.
Yeah.
We'll watch these the pace car lights here.
And because we're less than 10 laps from the finish, there is no lap cars between the leaders here. So Isidro, Bensi, Albee, all will be in contact with each other. And Watson. Watson is up to P5. So again, he's in a position to benefit greatly by just finishing this race in that position.
I can see some of those pit stops from like P6 Kresge. He had an 8.8 second pit stop, so he might have just taken too much fuel on that one.
Yeah, Holler did 36.6 on the pit lane and 4.3 in the box versus Caleb did a 38.8. Well, there's your 2 seconds right there, and a 6.4 in the box. So when you saw him at speed, you saw that roughly Bensi was like 2 seconds or more behind. There's your difference right there. And it could have been as little as he maybe hit the line faster, or maybe he put in just enough fuel that he needed.
That's right, and doesn't matter at this point. Everybody can make it here.
How much fuel do you need to make it to the end? The answer is just enough.
Lights still on the pace car. I'm hoping we get this green flag, because I think there's going to be fireworks if we do. Was Holler one of our consolation race drivers? We'll have to ask him if we get a podium interview, but winning or a podium interview.
Actually, we should see in the standings when we get the standings back from iRacing, because they have all the heat race information as well. Yep. Also, purple lap of the race is 18.574. We haven't talked about that because really the action's been so fierce, and that was set by Neil Lusher a little while back, but 18.574, which is much quicker than the actual race lap average or fastest race lap turn there, which is actually set by Mark Dismore when he raced for Kelly Racing.
That's a team I haven't heard of in a while.
Yeah, Scott Sharp actually won the first race here. Buddy Lazier finished second that particular year. I thought Buddy Lazier won that race, but I must have been thinking of another race. But Scott won that year, and then Greg Ray the next year got complete redemption because he won that race, and then IndyCar decided, or IRL decided, they did not want to return for 2000. Or actually 99. So they did. No, actually it was 98, 99. So they did not want to return for 2000. Number one, there was virtually nobody in the stands, and number two, the bills that the owners were getting after these races that they had to go get parts from G-Force and Dallara were just outrageous. And a lot of those teams went week to week, paycheck to paycheck, race to race, and lights are out on the pace car, by the way.
That's right.
And they just really couldn't afford to keep doing those races. And I think even in the second year, they lowered the distance. But there was still just as much attrition and parts flying as there was the previous year. Yeah. So that's another reason why they stopped going. And I doubt you'll ever see IndyCar ever go back to Dover ever again.
Only in another dimension.
Possibly, yes. And if you've been watching the Loki series, you realize that there's other dimensions that's probably happening right now.
the one where the split never happened, or it happened and... I don't know. IRL took
IRL
all
lost.
NASCAR fans. No, IRL took all of NASCAR's fans instead of the other way around.
Or NASCAR split.
Yeah,
all right, so here we go to green. He gets a great start. He gets a great start.
And that is our white flag, isn't it? That is our white flag, yep.
White flag, and that was a great start. I think he caught Isidro sleeping a little bit. Here he comes in the three. Unless something happens here, this is Holler. Great pit call. Great pit call. Great job on pit road. And he gets it. Wow.
We had a battle back there with Watson and Albee as well.
Watson, P4. I think Albee got him.
P4. No, Watson is P4.
Watson got him? Okay.
Stuff, yeah.
So that's even better day for him.
Well, that is the Dover Heat here. We'll see what we end up doing next season for our heat races.
Kind of turned out pretty good, a lot better than I thought it would. I was with you. I figured it would be just a ton of attrition and whatnot. And no, we saw only one caution, and it just made it for a little bit more exciting finish. Other than that, it was green the entire way.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have that big one. If we had something at the up at that front of the field, if something happened, then. We might have had a big crash. We saw Dakota's engine expire, and everybody was able to cleanly get through that. You called it. You said, I saw a puff of smoke. It's not something you expect to have an engine go in these cars, but especially in a fixed setup kind of deal.
And well, for that matter, you're not really a fixed setup, and then you really don't have engine manufacturers, so there's not an engine competition here.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing a blown engine in IndyCar racing is just, and even a real IndyCar racing, the engines are so much reliable. It's almost a foreign thing. Back in the 80s and 90s, you would see them, blow up and, basically with so much smoke coming out of the back of the cars, every mosquito in the area died because they were, fumigating the area. But the cars nowadays, they just don't quit.
Quickly going to get our interview set up here. And we'll look at who we have here. I think that we might actually bring up Caleb first because I see him already in the... Okay, no, we got our winners there. So we'll bring him up where I have him is not going to be where he's leading though.
Holler was from the Constellation.
Yeah, there you go.
He finished second.
Well, we got him up here in the booth. Hey, Michael, this is Matt and Gary up in the booth. Well, great win. Not expected here with where you're running through the cycle of pit stops, but you jumped through.
Yeah, I rarely get pit strategy right, but I decided I was going to be the first of the leaders to jump and first of the lead pack to jump, and it worked out. I've got no clue how I came away with I think it was 2.2 gap. No clue, but glad it happened.
Well, a great run, man. You had a 2-second before that caution. You had a 2-second lead over who was that at the time? Isidro.
Yeah, which could have been 2 miles at that point.
Yeah, it was almost a done deal with that final caution. But how does this win feel? This is your first win in the series here.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good. I definitely didn't come here into the series expecting to win, but I guess I can put up with the crazy races and come out on top rarely. We'll see. Looking forward to the next ones, but I think this might be my best result for a while, but I'm gonna celebrate and be happy about it. It was a really fun one. Really surprised there wasn't more wrecking. That impressed me.
Well, you're not the only one that's surprised. Hey,
right.
Gary and I were totally expecting a caution fest. We were prepared for it, and we had material ready for it, but it was okay.
So much unused material.
Yeah.
Well, we've got ovals still. Don't worry, you can use it.
Well, we've got Sebring will be next week. Any thoughts going to Sebring? It's gonna be bumpy, just like today was.
Yeah, always bumpy there. I like Sebring. I'm kind of middling at it though, so I don't think just gonna go for a nice clean race, nice clean finish, and see where I end up there for Sebring. But it'll be a lot of fun no matter what.
Well, great win here tonight. Any final thoughts? Any shout out sponsors? Anybody watching out there for you?
I almost have a livery complete for the next one. So shame I couldn't show that off for the first race. But so I'm working with a climate charity, helping to raise some climate awareness too. So Citizens Climate Lobby there, and other than that, just everyone for hosting the league, you guys for commentating, and everybody racing in it.
Oh, great call, man! Great call. Great race.
Well, we'll see you next week at Sebring. All right, we'll bring up P2 here. Hey, Nick, this is Matt and Gary up in the booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, you finished P2. Huge gap, though, to Holler there. You only had one chance. You had that caution flag. You only had one lap to try to get him, but probably needed 2 laps to really do anything there. But tell me about your race in total there.
Oh, well, it's about what you saw. It's basically single file all the way around because there's so much downforce with the setup that we used.
Yeah.
The only time I think I gained a spot was when someone gets a little too much on the inside and when Dakota's motor blew up.
Any thoughts on that motor blowing up? Did you guys have did you have any heating issues? Did you have any red lights on the end of the engine or anything? Or is that
crew chief was telling me that my engine was a little hot. So I didn't really expect it to happen because that happens usually whenever we go to IndyCar Super Speedway. I didn't expect anyone to actually blow up, but I guess because we were running so close to each other, it exasperated the heating issues.
Yeah, pretty wild. I haven't. I think that's probably our first blown engine ever that in this broadcast stuff that we're doing. Unless somebody's ran into the wall really hard and blew up the engine that way, that can happen. But good run there. This is your. I think this is your first podium of the season. Next week we're going to Sebring. Any thoughts going there?
Sebring's fun track.
Could be bumpy, just like it was today. Hey, any shout outs to anybody, any sponsors, things like that?
No shouts.
Sounds good.
He is a man of few words.
That's right. Well, we'll catch you next week.
All right, see you there.
Yep. All right, we'll bring up our third place. Probably the biggest fan base in the league here. Caleb Bency in the booth, getting a P3 here tonight. Tell me about your race. I don't know what happened on that pit sequence, but suddenly you were a couple seconds back from Holler.
Yeah, I don't really know either. I was a little low on, or I was literally running out of fuel coming in my pit box. So the car, as soon as you stop the car, it shuts off, and the pit stop was so short that the car wouldn't refire in time. So I mean, that was probably only like a second lost. I have no idea where the rest of that was lost. But, I mean, I didn't have a draft the entire race. So I don't know if those guys pitted early and didn't put as much fuel in if they were saving, and then maybe got some draft laps because it was about.
That was it. I think that was it. Yeah,
I think so too, because you gained probably about 4 to 5 tenths if you were behind someone full throttle. So, yeah, I mean, there was really nothing. Yeah.
It was a lot different race than we were expecting up here in the booth anyway. So
yeah, it's any race that's high downforce. I never enjoy those. We did one, in this last year or last season at Michigan.
I think, yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
That was not one of your favorite races.
No, it's the exact same thing. Yeah, I mean, you hold the bottom, you try to pass on the high side, and you just can't do anything.
IRL line. Yeah.
Any track that doesn't require lifting or actual driving is not going to produce some great racing. Even Indy, there's been some random one-off race I've done where it's just way too high downforce. So any track like that where you're not lifting and holding it wide open isn't going to be very good. And I think some of the people watching, my fans probably could have driven that for a few laps and still been fast. So yeah, the heats were fun because I feel like there was just a side of unknown, and you're all on edge, you don't want to miss the main or whatever. But once you got to the main, it was just pretty much just riding, and I couldn't really save fuel because I couldn't let them pass because I just get freight trained. So nothing really.
Damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, hey, I'll take a P3, I guess.
Hey, you were probably on the mic there on the radio with Dakota. What did he have to say about his engine blowing up? That's okay to say on the broadcast.
No, so he was running fuel or map 5, and
that will do that. That will do that.
So he got I think EOT or something like that warning, and he said that. Obviously, I had no idea he was running map 5. I moved to map 5 because I'm like, I can't let them pass. I want to try to save a little bit of fuel. And I just got the EOT warning too. So then he blew the engine. And so then I quickly switched back to map 1, and eventually after another 5 laps, the warning went away. So that's definitely what caused it. I've never really seen that before. So
I have seen that at iRacing Super Speedway in these cars. You kind of get in the draft, you can keep up on fuel map 5 or engine map 5. And I remember sitting it there, and then all of a sudden, as you get the warning that you're overheating, you're like, how in the world can I be overheating?
Yeah, exactly.
Going 250 miles an hour. There's something with that setting that doesn't equal, good temperature for the engine for some reason.
I don't know.
And that's what happens. And so I'm not surprised to hear his engine map 5. Yeah. But I am surprised that the engine did grenade on him because we do not see that very often.
So I think the warning was probably up for a while then, but I don't know if it just suffocates the engine and that's how it saves.
Maybe
I don't really.
Because less fuel is running through the engine with that fuel mode.
Yeah.
And then, like you just said.
But Indy, we never had that problem at Indy, so I don't really. I mean, obviously you're lifting at Indy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're not as close.
Yeah.
He's like on somebody's gearbox, the
Gearbox,
whole
yeah.
way around. So
No fresh air.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've had an open setup, and I'm running 70% radiator inlet. I've had overheating issues. Never blown an engine though.
Yeah,
At least
which is
not.
odd.
I've done it in practice, but not in the race. So
Yeah. So it came on pretty early, I think, and then eventually just grenaded on him. So
well, he's a championship leader. He's still the championship leader, but that's not going to help. But hey, back to you though, Caleb. Hey, any final shout outs, sponsors, family, friends, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, obviously thanks to you guys, and Race First always puts on a good broadcast. And like I said, all the time my family says these are definitely the best. So yeah, so thanks to you guys, funandfanny.com. Obviously check them out if you haven't already. A lot of good stuff is always there for custom body care and all that. So yeah, and then any family and friends watching, there's probably a few. So yeah, I mean, again, I don't really know what to say really from the race, but yeah, I guess I'll take a P3. So
yeah, podium finish is good. Hey, next week though, we're going to Sebring, so that could be interesting.
Okay. Yeah, especially with these cars, they don't really cooperate well with the bumps. So
No, they don't.
I like.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I like Sebring a lot, but it's so much of it comes down to the setup. So
yeah,
I don't know if it's been released yet or dropped, but it can either be really fun or really not fun. So hoping it's fun.
And we're not doing a standing start.
That's true. That's true.
Back to we ran in the Formula TV series. We ran a standing start. It was Caleb's first standing start in an IndyCar, and it did not go too well. But
I quickly went from first to last, and then in the wall.
Christian Jasper was the one that went from the mid pack to the lead. He might want the standing start this time.
That's true. I don't know how yeah. Anyways, good thing we're doing rolling starts.
That's right. Well, we'll see you next week, and take care till then.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Hey, real quick, looking at the standings coming into the night. Of course, you had Dakota with a huge lead over James Watson. P3 was Zimkowski. He did not even make the feature. Gavin Sanders looks like he finished last in the feature. Shane Coogan didn't even show up. Isaac Morris didn't show up. Lewis Woodall, he finished 10th in the feature, so he's going to gain on some folks. Hans Schlegel wasn't here. Antonio Bonini wasn't here. Lucas Santos showed up, so he's going to gain some ground. But really the big winner out of this is really James Watson, because he's the one that's out of the people in that first column is going to be making up the most points and making up the most ground on the person next to him in the standings.
We do have one drop race here this season of the 12, so that helps. I know that Shane recently moved, so that's probably he's a little bit busy probably with his move.
Well, I'm not saying because they're not here is a bad thing. I'm just saying that when we see the points come out for next week, when we talk about them next week, point championship standing after 6 rounds, this is where we're going to see why it's different. Is because the number of people aren't here, and a number of people just had a bad week. But there's really only one name in that first column that had a good night and is going to move up, and that's Watson. And Woodall had a mediocre night. Santos as well. Jasper as well. I think he's finished 7th in the feature. So some of those guys are going to make up a little ground, but for most everyone in that first column, they're going down.
That's right. Well, let's go. I'll read off the top 16 here. So we got Michael Holler taking his first RIL victory here, followed by Sidro, Caleb Bensey P3, James Watson P4, Chris Albee P5, Kresge P6, Jasper P7, Cosgrove P8, Donchak P9, Lewis Woodall P11, Lucas Santos P11. Neil Lesher was having a pretty good run until he had that little mishap entering the pits. P12, Caleb Morrissey, Stephen Ritters, Dakota DeMade, our championship leader, P15, and Gavin Sanders, an early out here tonight in the final scoring position, P16. We have some other drivers that will score points, but not from the feature here. So that's it for us here tonight. Thanks to Schaeffer's and for sponsoring the series. Tomorrow, Gary, you'll be in Mid-Ohio for the Daredevil series.
Daredevil Turbo Series. Some of these guys that I don't know if maybe some of these guys that were in tonight will be participating tomorrow night, but we'll be at Mid-Ohio for a PM18 race. Should be exciting. And then you'll be doing some BMW action somewhere else as well. So we'll be busy, both here of us on race first, just keep it here, and you'll have an evening full of iRacing entertainment. Just find the stream.
Right. So BMW is going to be from Okoyama. That's like a free track over in Japan. We'll be from Japan. I wonder if Caleb and his crew over in Ohio are going to show up in force over in Mid-Ohio. That's like, his favorite track and everything. So we'll see if they show up for that turbo race.
Oh, we would invite the definitely the views, and of course the people at Daredevil Brewery would definitely like that as well. So looking forward to that. It seems like anytime lately, Mid-Ohio races seem to always have come up with a bit of drama in them, regardless of what series I'm calling. So maybe we'll see more of the same. So tomorrow night, and that'll be roughly about the same. This time tomorrow night, we'll be racing there as well.
Sounds good. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll have Schaeffer's take us out.
Good night.
For generations, fans of IndyCar could only dream of stepping into the cockpit and feeling the rush of going wheel to wheel at over 200 miles per hour. Thanks to the latest in sim racing technology, we can get one step closer. Talented, fearless drivers battle it out in virtual race cars to claim supremacy at some of the world's most demanding tracks. This is the RIL, Schaeffer's IndyCar Series, presented by RaceBurst.
Ever since I've switched to Schaeffer's oil, I've never had a reason to even try anything else. And that's one thing that I'm proud about, is the fact that I can't tell you how good something else is, because I know how good Schaeffer's oil is. My engine builders, Tony and Glenn Clements, have said about the oil we run. They've told us that out of all the motors that they get and rebuild every year, ours looks the best, and a lot of that has to do with the oil that we run. One of the things that I love about Schaeffer's oil is the fact that all of their reps are out in the field and at the racetracks with us, seeing what all the racers need, seeing what ideas we have or anything that we can improve on. And you just can't beat the customer service of having a rep for, one of the main components of our race team, whether it's at our engine oil, transmission fluid, rear end oil, having somebody there that represents that brand and also gives us some support and also the knowledge that we need to be making the right calls and just helping us out with our entire racing program. It means a lot to our race team to have that. My name's Chris Ferguson, and I drive the number 22 dirt late model. I've been using Schaeffer's oil racing products since 2009. I absolutely have no doubt that we're using the best products that is possible for dirt late model racing.